Welcome back. We'll stretch, whatever you need to do. If you need to stand up, that's okay. Those of you down here, if you want to move to a seat, that's fine, whatever you need to do for yourselves. Are we okay on sound? Can you hear me back there? You guys okay on sound here? Wayne, y'all good? Okie doke. Okay, you all brought something to share. It's a smile. Go ahead and do it. And if there's somebody you haven't seen in a while, smile real big at them. And if there's somebody that you know is new, make plans to at least say hello or something. This business of no hugging is just not fun. But we do what we gotta do. Okay, let me make sure I'm on here. For those of you that were here last week, I promise this is not a part 2 of Impermanence. But I did happen to listen to Thea's talk on YouTube. And it was like, well, I'm going to change it. And it's like, no, I'm not. We could talk about Impermanence every single night, the whole year, and still not cover all of it. So I'm going to speak tonight on Impermanence. Stop, look, and listen. There are certainly some basics when it comes to the Dharma, and it's sometimes difficult to be brief because there's so much to share. But if one were to draft a top 10, David Letterman's top 10 list, I guess everybody knows who David Letterman is. Johnny Carson, we're getting worse. Jack Parr, we're in big trouble. But if one were to draft a top 10 list of what the Buddha taught, impermanence would certainly be on the list and probably close to the top. During a lecture, when a student asked Shunryu Suzuki, the Buddhist priest who helped bring Zen to America, if he could sum up the Buddhist teaching in a nutshell, Suzuki simply replied, everything changes. Everything changes. Everything is impermanent. All conditioned things are impermanent. Nothing stays the same. Impermanence, along with suffering and selflessness, make up the 3 characteristics of existence. These are taught in various places throughout the Pali Canon, but there's one particular sutta from the Anguttara Nikaya, the Upada Sutta, that's particularly specific. It's short, so let's stop amongst our look and listen. We're going to stop and listen to it. This translation is from Bhante Sudasa, a Buddhist monk from both the Zen and Vipassana traditions. If we've got any Jersey folks here, he just bought a cathedral or a Catholic campus in West Orange, New Jersey, and he bought it with the intention of people coming to live among monks and get to know Buddhist life better. He's a wonderful translator, and this sutta is also known as arising. Monks, whether Tathagatas, and that is a term also pronounced as Tathagata, I think that's close, someone who knows and sees reality as it is, an enlightened one. Monks, whether Tathagatas arise or not, this aspect of the world remains the same. This stable truth, this fixed truth, all conditional things are impermanent. The Tathagata awakens to that and realizes that having awakened to it and realized it, he announces it, teaches it, proclaims it, expresses, reveals, and clarifies all conditional things are impermanent. Monks, whether Tathagatas arise or not, this aspect of the world remains the same. This fixed truth, all conditioned things are unsatisfactory. Tathagata awakens to that and realizes that. Having awakened to it and realized it, he announces it, teaches it, describes it, expresses it, reveals it, explains it, and clarifies it. All conditional things are unsatisfactory. Monks, whether Tathagatas arise or not, this aspect of the world remains the same. This stable truth, this fixed truth, all things are impersonal. Tathagata awakens to that and realizes that. Having awakened to it and realized it, he announces it, teaches it, describes it, expresses it, reveals it, and clarifies it. All things are impersonal. While all three of these certainly merit study and investigation, I want to focus tonight on impermanence and how much suffering can be brought about when we choose to ignore the basic fact that everything changes. In their book, Seeking the Heart of Wisdom, Joseph Goldstein and Jack Kornfield refer to a story in the Indian epic called the Mahabharata. In the Mahabharata, it is asked, what is the most wondrous thing in the world? The reply is that the most wondrous thing in the world is that people can see other people all around them growing old and dying and somehow think it will not happen to them. Let me read that again. The most wonderful thing in the entire world, wondrous, not wonderful, I'm sorry, wondrous thing, and I don't know that wondrous is the right word there, but really impactful, like what in the world? People can see other people all around them growing old and dying and somehow think it will not happen to them. Impermanence, in terms of the nature of this human life, is plainly taught in the Five Remembrances. And if you remember all of my talks, which I'm sure you do, you'll remember that 2 years ago, I did a talk on the Five Remembrances. And anybody who works in hospice care should know the Five Remembrances. Thich Nhat Hanh has a wonderful translation of these that I want to share. The first, I am of the nature to grow old. There is no way to escape growing old. I have looked. I am of the nature to have ill health. There is no way to escape ill health. I am of the nature to die. There is no way to escape death. All that is dear to me and everyone I love are of the nature to change. There's no way to escape being separated from them. And the last, my actions are my only true belongings. I cannot escape the consequences of my actions. My actions are the ground upon which I stand. You've probably heard that you can't take it with you, but you can sure leave it here. Look, and you see impermanence all around. And sometimes impermanence is good because there are some things we want to be impermanent. We may even beg them to arise and pass away. A headache, a toothache, a muscle pull, a broken bone, the flu or a cold, certain thoughts, times of intense anger. We can be grateful for some things that are impermanent because they bring joy, if only for a short while or a season of life. Things like cherry blossoms. Anybody been to Washington to see the blossoms and all? Yeah. Azaleas. They come, they go. Sandcastles. Sunrises and sunsets. A sunny day, rainy day. The ability and shape to run a marathon. a half marathon, a 10K, a 5K, or even a fast walk around the block. Fresh coffee, or a perfect cup of tea. Thick hair, a pet, Cam the Labradoodle, Dangle the Spaniel, and the list could go on. A school building that is no longer there. Teachers. A music collection. Vinyl. 8-track. Cassette. CDs. Or today, downloaded from the cloud. Clean water. Memories. Trips. Family. Elections. I bet you didn't see that one coming. The raw experience of life comes from what we directly experience, and we experience these through the internal representation system. We experience these through sights, sounds, taste, smells, physical sensations, and mental events. And all of these are constantly changing. There was a noise at 5 to 8. Did you get startled? Did you hear it? It was a little bit different. It arose and it passed away. This is the very nature of our lives. But it's not all bad. There are some positive elements of impermanence and change. Think about the development of your meditation practice. From 5 minutes to 10 to 15 to 30. From a half-day retreat to a 3-night retreat or even longer. Learning to apply the Dharma in situations where we were unable to before. Improvements in health. Feeling better. Educational accomplishments. Meeting certain goals. Simply becoming more mindful. Isn't it nice to feel yourself becoming a little more mindful? These involve moving from what was to what is now. And in the course of stopping and looking, we begin to hear the ultimate message of impermanence, the arising and passing away of all conditioned things. But how do we see this in the midst of life? How do we see this in life moving so fast in the midst of going from here to there? The Mahabharata says we don't, at least in terms of seeing other people all around us growing old and dying, and somehow thinking it will not happen to us. So the key to impermanence is taking the time to slow down. I don't know about you, but a 30-minute meditation in an environment like this, it's a luxury to be with like-minded people and to have the peace of being together in a safe environment. To see, to examine, to meditate. This is the way. In the Dhammapada, the Buddha writes, all created things are impermanent. Seeing this with insight, one becomes disenchanted with suffering. This is the path to purity. So where does this insight come from? It comes from meditation, mindfulness, concentration, and looking deeply at that which arises and passes away. We can do this with sounds, bodily sensations, smells, taste, thoughts, all that arises and passes away. It was nice to have company over the weekend. I saw the arising and passing away of a key lime pie. It was there 100% when I brought it home from Publix. I only saw 2 pieces actually taken away, but somehow or another, by Monday night, it was gone. And there was a plastic container in the recyclables. Everything arises and passes away. 24 cookies. What happened to them? And I'm gluten-free, just for the record. Things arise, things pass away. But we must stay focused to the point that we can dig deep enough for a mindfulness that goes beyond the cushion. It's easy to stay mindful on the cushion, but can we take impermanence and can we see it out and about? Can we see it in our life? Can we see it in situations where there is obviously the arising and passing away? Think of it like looking at a movie, the movie of life. A movie is called a motion picture. And it's called a motion picture because it takes motion to make it happen. Little trivia for you. The motion comes from a projector that moves a reel of frames onto the big screen. And if you're like me, you've gone to the movies before and it's broken. And all of a sudden it stops and the light comes on. Could you fix the projector? Because there needs to be frames moving. Frames move at 24 frames per second. That's how fast it goes. This means a motion picture moves at the rate of 1,440 frames per minute. Some of you in your head, are you stretching out the film and sort of looking? So an hour is 86,400 frames, and a 24-hour day is over 2 million frames. Do you have to look at every frame? No. But insight meditation gives us the opportunity to slow things down and focus on certain places. To remember in such a way that we can recall and see where we've been and see the impermanence and make plans not to be ambushed by life. How did this happen? We say of a certain age as we look in the mirror. My favorite picture of me is still on Facebook for those of you who are on my account or have your own account. The reason it's on there is because my mother insists that it's there even though she's not on. It's a boy in a sweater with his hair slicked back. And the chances of it being slicked back with Brill cream were real good at the time. Little bow tie, gray sweater. See gray sweater? No, don't have gray sweater here. About that color, Justine, of your blouse. Yeah, kind of like that. 5 years old. Not a pimple. Not a wrinkle. Do I want to go back? No. everything changes. And there are stages that we find ourselves in that sometimes we don't know how we got there. It happened too fast. But impermanence gives us a warning. We know what's coming and we have an opportunity to do things we want to do. Jack Nicholson and Morgan Freeman called it a bucket list. But how about a bucket list just of our practice? A bucket list of centering, a bucket list of knowing what's coming and stopping, looking, and listening to arising and passing away. And learning not to dwell in the land of suffering that is made up of the space between the way things are and the way we think they ought to be. That is a place of suffering. Things arise and things pass away, including the star.